this is not the beginning of the video. This is me posing a query to the subscribers and the regular watchers if you haven't subscribed. But please do subscribe because it helps the channel. Anyhow, you may have noticed that there are new little extra videos at the very end of the video of these videos. And over on Tabletop Tap Room, there's a new intro and extra video. I put these together just so I could just drop them in there. It helps in the editing process because I was manually putting in, tile, like an overlay and a sound effect, and then I'd have to go in and particularly on the extra part, change the copy, and sometimes I forget. So having done the videos, it greatly streamlines. Now, those intro and extra videos that I've now done for all across the two channels are 12 seconds long. The intro that I've been using for Star Frontiers Gamer is 24 seconds long, so it's twice the length before we get to the part where I go hello. So I'm looking to find out what everybody's opinion is on the intro video for Star Frontiers Gamer, whether you think I should redo it and maybe shorten it up to that 12 seconds, just move things right along, or whether or not you like it. The good wife, I already know her vote is she likes it. She likes the music, and honestly, the music was just freely available within the Adobe software I'm using. So, it just had a nice beat and it felt like you could dance to it. And I was like, we'll go with that. If you think the video should be, the intro should be redone and shortened to 12 seconds, please sound off in the comments. I'd like to know what everybody's opinion is. So thank you. And now we go to our regularly scheduled show. Hello, Tom, aka Gedeon here for Star Frontiers Gamer, and welcome to the first Fanzine Friday, formerly Frontiersman Friday. And we are reviewing Star Frontiersman number 13. So this is the cover of Star Frontiersman magazine, and I just want to comment on this, other than the obvious that you don't want to do any hard left turns without everybody being seatbelted in. That is for sure. Love this particular cover. This to me was the first real Star Frontiers cover for the Star Frontiersman. Now that is technically not true, because if we go to this page here showing all of the covers, number 11 here had the Assault Scouts on it, which is great. I love this cover too. But for my money, I just felt that number 13, with all these characters, you got the guy, the girl, the Dralosite, the Azarian, and the Versk all riding in a hover car together, with the one caveat that this it's like the door is missing over here on this hover car. So any hard left turns and that Dralosite's going out the door. But definitely one of my favorite covers, and up to this point, most of them just felt very generic sci-fi. So I loved this cover for this particular issue. So just a little background on that cover. Jim Burns is a Welsh artist who won 3 Hugo Awards for the Best Professional Artist. His works include numerous cover arts of the sci-fi genre. Today, Jim works as a contemporary British science fiction illustrator for Arena, and the website is given here on this page under this little bit about the cover art. So fantastic that a professional artist said, hey, I'll do a free cover for you. Love that when that happens. And let's get into this. So Frontier feedback, and this is usually errata, and so you kind of pass over it if it's not of any importance to you. So there was some corrections here for number 11, page 9. a Blade of Damage interview with Chris Harper. So Chris Harper was interviewed about his article. Right off the bat, you get this Espionage PSA. Now, I was looking at this and I was like, was I having a brain fart? I created this Espionage PSA, and I created this strictly to be like a bolt-on, for Alpha Dawn rules skill system. But I was noticing in here when I said, let's blow this up. I was noticing in the article where I said the Spy PSA has 3 skills: social spy, spycraft, and spy gadget. Experience cost 4 per level as a primary PSA and 8 per level as a secondary PSA. Secondary PSAs are a thing in a skilled frontier. The fan created the skill system. That's back in Star Frontiersman number 9. And this is very much, I can confirm, this was very much created for Alpha Dawn, which doesn't have a secondary PSA. It's either you're in PSA or out. So I was having a total brain fart and confusion and mixing Skilled Frontier from Star Frontiersman number 9 a little bit here. But otherwise, this is very much an Alpha Dawn skill system. And so you treat Social Spy as having all of these. We should shrink this down a little bit. Having all of these sub-skills: bluff, empathic understanding, persuasion, and society. Just a quick note on society. Society acts very much like computer skill. See, when a character takes computer skill, like at first level, they learn how to write one computer program. And every level they gain, they learn to write a new computer program. And then once they reach 6th level, if they want to learn to write new computer programs, they just pay 4 experience point. And the same thing happens here with society. You know the ins and outs of a society. You know who the movers and shakers and the cultural stuff going on with it for one particular society. So that would be like Clarion in the White Light system, or Grand Quivera in the Prengular system, or Morgaine's World in the Prengular system. So you would just pick one of these societies, and you're gonna have studied and know who the movers and the shakers and so on and so forth, and for that as a spy. And then at 6th level, you spend 4 EXP and you can add new societies. But I was also thinking, as I was rereading this for this review, that UPF as a society would be possible. But what this would mean is who all the members are that sit on the Council of Worlds. If somebody's an important kingmaker within the UPF government, but they're not somebody who necessarily sits on the Council of Worlds, you know who that person is. You know who the top admirals are in Space Fleet, that kind of thing. So the UPF political structure could be a society for this as well. And that's not outlined in the description, but I just thought that was good. Now, here, this is a cool illustration done by Shell, and it's of the caption here says, a Yazarian agent activates his holo screen before approaching the guard booth of a high-level security outpost. After all, the front door is typically the fastest way in. I love this illustration of the holo screen coming into play down the body of the Yazarian. And so, and notice this here. Look, this torso of the human is just slightly off in comparison to where the torso should be for the Yazarian. So it's kind of like there's a little shift in the light as the holo screen becomes that. Very cool illustration. One of my favorites. When I saw this, I just loved it. This is cool. And how often do we really get an illustration that tells us holo screen is being used? And not very often. And in fact, this might be the only one in existence. I don't know, but definitely a cool and favorite. Next we have spycraft skill. This covers cryptography, situational awareness, forgery, surveillance, stealth, basically spycraft kind of things. And then you have spy gadget, which is kind of a mishmash of other subskills from other things, like computers access and operate. Spies should be able to access computers. It's kind of a spy thing to do. They don't get all of the computer skills, but they get that one thing. They get operate machinery as a technician. Um, they get detect and activate, deactivate defenses and locks as a technician. Uh, they have recognize and use spy gadgets. So, all those spy gadgets, it looks like a watch, but actually it sprays acid. So having this skill, and again, I want to stress that I wrote this for Alphadon, so all the sub skill success rates actually match how sub skills function in Alphadon. So it's very much, I tried to be very thorough about this. Now, the criticism I'm going to make on myself here is this pay rate table. This completely does not match the NPC pay rates by skill level table that's in the Alphadon book. So I'm guessing I did not even consult that table and set this up. And this is completely out of whack. 800 credits per day for a level 6 skill is completely out of whack, because a level 6 technician in Alphadon is either at level 6, their pay per day is like 100 or 130 credits. I don't remember exactly. I was just looking at the table earlier, but these credits are all out of whack, so don't use them. I would recommend the pay rate for a technician as the pay rate for an espionage agent, and completely, X-nay on this table A. And then this notoriety table, I was kind of playing around with this idea of notoriety, having notoriety in the game. But it would be something the game master would award, that you're no longer an unknown nobody at level 1, but you're now a novice, and so I kind of put these benefits in here. There's really not much to these benefits, but it was an idea I was playing around with at the time. It's not fully conceived, but it's something you could definitely use if you wanted to. There's also a forgery kit that has been included in here as a toolkit, but not a heavy toolkit. And you notice I've only put half a kilogram on there for it. New equipment. Now, this new equipment, it's subtitled Poloria's Potpourri. It's done by Andrew Chang, aka Fu Manchu. I loved this guy on the forums. He was great to talk to back in the day. But what he's doing here is he's actually creating a little fluff on standard. Some of these are standard equipment, like here, the Mag Star by Tunic's weaponry. This is, he puts this note, game notes, laser pistol presented in Alphadon, but he's creating a little bit of fluff on it. But then some of these are actually new stats, like, for instance, this LE 1500 interstellar weaponry. It does 1d10 plus 2 per SU. It's a more high damage output. And then down here we've got this very much a concealable compact holdout pistol. It does lower damage, 1d10 minus 2. So, but I would actually modify this LE 1000 even further and say that it can only hold the mini SCU clip from Zebulon's Guide. So it much more limited. It's very much a concealable weapon, very much a holdout weapon. And he comes down here and he's some Versk weaponry here. You get these other weapons done by Bill Logan, the blast hammer. I think these are overweighted. Just looking at the image of the thing, it might be overpowered because you're doing 2d10 plus your punch score, since it's a melee weapon. But when it contacts, there's a laser head in the hammer business end, and so it drains 4 SCU and does 4d10 albedo damage. So it's kind of one of those weapons that crosses the line and does inertia damage, and it does albedo damage. And so you kind of need both the types of defenses if you're facing this. and it can be thrown. It's got you're able to throw it, and if it hits, I guess the laser goes off. You got a voice amplifier module, and then the sonic hammer. The sonic hammer is done by that's a Larry Moore creation. And again, I kind of feel like it might just slightly be overpowered, but it's 2d10 plus punch score and then 4d10 sonic damage. For the sonic emitter that's in the business end of the hammer, but you can turn it around and use the spike and for 3d10 plus punch score on inertia. And it can be thrown as well, but it only has a point blank, short, and medium range. So I kind of like the idea, but I kind of feel like I would need to maybe tone down the albedo damage that they do. I don't know. I'm not 100% sweet on them, but I do like the idea to a certain extent on these types of hammers and the blast hammer and the sonic hammer. Then you get a net gun done by Rum Rogue, and so you get this net gun, and then the Zethra. Now this is not a just a reprint of the Dragon magazine article on the Zethra, and that's why it's still in this issue, because after the 2018 Evil Hat trademark grab that failed, Wizards of the Coast had asked that we remove all of the reprinted Dragon magazine because that was their IP, their copyright, and there had been some reprints of Dragon magazine articles just to put them back in, circulation for fans to find, not to try to rip off Dragon, Wizards of the Coast in any way. But so those were stripped out of the PDFs. And so this here is actually a revisiting, a retooling of the Zethra. And there's like new content in here. This is kind of almost a redo with, a nod of the head to Ed Greenwood for his original work. But here they've specified the home world. That was not specified in the original article, I do believe. The writer does some sample names here, and I really appreciate that. That's just kind of a nice little extra detail, thoroughness that I always appreciate. It's a nice review of them. There's a discussion of using them as player characters. A more thorough looking at their stats and base ability modifiers. And so Commander Obadiah. So this artwork here is about this commander in setting who was suspected the location of where their homeworld is. And, so there's a little bit more thorough write-up on them from a fan's perspective. The Truth About the Great War. This is by Pariah and Jess Carver. And this is it's almost like it's a response to somebody else, like possibly the psychology of the Sathar in the previous issue. And but it doesn't seem to be 100%. But it seems like they're responding to some other researcher. It's like a discussion. It's very informal. And it's discussing the Great War, what happened in the first Sathar War with the loss of Admiral Morgaine. There's some details in here I don't like the 5 sisters who stayed on the bridge with Admiral Morgaine. Just imagine how that would play out in a military organization. They all have the same last name, and you say, Lieutenant so-and-so. And all their first names are so close. They're all they all begin with an M. So it just seemed like that would not play out well in a military organization. And how often does a military organization have 5 members of the same family and post them all to the same bridge crew? It just felt contrived to me, and it was a detail I did not like. But this is an interesting read. It's some kind of fluff background on the first Sathar War. And here we go. Volturnus Desert Encounter. This was written by me, and it's the first of two Volturnus Desert Encounters that I wrote. The other one's called the Star Metal Sickness. Not sure what issue it's in. We'll eventually get to it, but that was predicated on metal that was contaminated with radiation, and then some Ulmor picked it up, and now they were receiving radiation poisoning, but they don't know why, so they call for the PCs to help. It's like a sick call. Hey, there's something, we need you, come. So you would have already developed a relationship with this Ulmor tribe. It was kind of a medical investigation for the medic who doesn't, they just get to play the cleric who heals everybody in the game. But this was one where they get to be the hero by figuring out this sickness that was affecting the Ulmor. So, but anyhow, this one is a desert encounter, and it's predicated on a thruster class privateer, and that would be in the privateers that were outlined in Dragon Magazine. The thruster class is one of them, and it was owned by the Red Devil pirates, and it made an emergency landing in the desert of Volturnus. Unfortunately, it landed in an unstable area, and a sinkhole swallowed its landing gear. So the pirates just decided to strip it. They decided they couldn't fly it out. They decided it was going to be too much problems, and they just stripped it. So this ship has been stripped. The assault rockets were, the panel was opened on the outer hull, and they removed the assault rockets. The atomic engines were stripped. So there's no power to this thing. There's no power operating anything. And the player character is going to have to do some kit bashing like you saw in the Mutiny on the Eleanor Mores, where they're stripping stuff and trying to, salvage and put together things. So you're going to be wiring in power sources into things to make them operate. And so it's a little bit of that. And it's a chance in the Volturnus series, in the Crash on Volturnus, for the technicians to shine, to come about and be the guys who are going to be getting things done. I just want to point out, and so this comes with a deck plan. I did a side view orientation of the ship, and then the 3 decks. Now so this is a deck plan for the thruster class ship, and I don't believe I have the deck plan without the sand. Obviously I had made that, and then I added this little sand texture here to show it. So and this is not an entry point for the ship. It's just a crack in the hull. Sand's been blowing in and filling in the bridge deck here. So there's a lot of sand. This little hatch is the ladder well, and if you read up in the description here, ladder well. The ladder well has its door jammed, and the pressure hatch to the deck was welded open, but the hatch to the bridge deck is shut. When the hatch to the bridge deck is opened, a meter of sand will pour into the well, requiring a reaction speed check by characters in the well hanging onto the ladder to avoid being knocked 20 meters down to the bottom. So this is effectively a trap without being a trap that was set by somebody. It's a circumstance trap due to what's going on in this situation. And I just wanted to point that out. So there's some problems here to figure out. Officer's quarter. This room was stripped of furnishings, but the plasti paper copy of a very old astrogator's manual was left behind. It's things like that. I don't know how the player characters would use that, but it's something they might take, and they might find a use for it somehow. And then in the engineering section, there are, again, cracks in the hull and a Volturnian burrower snake. I've reproduced the stats here for it, so you don't have to go look them up. A mated pair has made their nest here, and what they do is what I did for this encounter was I had printed it out, and we were using miniatures, and I made little cones. I made little paper cones that showed the extent of the flashlight's beam, and they could only really shoot at the snake if it was within the beam of the flashlight. So the snake has this the snake would do these hit and run attacks, and it would move, and then the other snake would attack, and it really frustrated the players. And when they finally shot one, it was like, yes, you would have thought they killed a quick death instead of something with only 15 stamina points. But it was tough because they were using their flashlights and they were trying to use a gun, and it was really a great challenge to do this combat in complete darkness with just a flashlight. And it was very frustrating to the players. But when they finally shot one of the snakes, and I did a morale check, and the other snake retreated, it was they kind of celebrated that, and you would have thought they killed a quick death. So that was cool. So I share that. That's how I played that out when I ran this, when I play tested it. Also, somebody sent me, I don't know if it was within the forums or a personal message. They said they used this, and they actually had the auto dock, which was a piece of equipment, I believe, in an earlier fanzine. And they specified that the ship had an auto dock on it. It was unpowered, and it was too big for the pirates to haul it out of the ship, so they left it behind. And it was a chance for the players to wire a power source into it and run the auto dock and get some quick healing that they really needed. So I thought that was a cool idea as well. Not something I thought of, but I share that in this review as well. So here you go. A thruster class deck plan that I did up in Dungeony, and a little side view representing how the 3 decks line up. And there you go. There's a bonus deck plan for you. If you can ignore all the little sand I put that kind of spilled into the ship through cracks. Next, we get hull scrapers. This was done by Larry Moore, and I kibitzed with him online quite a bit about it. And when I saw this, I was a little disappointed because we had a piece of artwork showing a gelatinous cube come down a sci-fi hallway. And I don't know why he didn't use it, but he did this to conform with the monster creation rules. I think he did this to conform with the monster creation rules from Frontier Space, from the Frontier Space RPG, which he worked on. It's here it is. This creature was designed using Frontier Space referee creature creation document, but he puts notes in here referencing Alphadon. So it's very easy to convert it back to Alphadon Star Frontiers if you're not using Frontier Space. But I was very, again, he did it as one page and layout, and he didn't put that beautiful piece of artwork we had in here, and I felt like he should have. Interview with Jen Page. Jen Page was an actress working on Project London. It was a fan film, very low to no budget, with all volunteers, and yet somehow they were managing to have some pretty good sci-fi special effects in there. I just watched I never watched the movie, but I just watched the trailers on it, and it actually looked really good for a fan film. So this is an interview of Jen Page that CJ Williams managed to corner. Good job, CJ. And then we have HnightHawks Ships. Now this edition is by Richard Shadowshack Rose, and this guy he's very thorough about his deck plans. So here you're getting, look at this. This is glorious. This cross section of a HnightHawks ship, the TT 456, hull size 4. It's a small HnightHawks freighter from Trans Travel. You get the deck plan, you get the launch, cargo container configurations here. I like this, and again, just more information right up on it. He's thorough. The Corsair container. Now, I always kept referring people to the link in the .us forums where this is discussed, but I forgot that it was here in this particular issue of the Star Frontiersman. So good to know. I like this thing, the Corsair container. So it's a cargo container that has been made into a hangar for fighters so that you can bolt this onto a freighter, a standard HnightHawks freighter, and it becomes an auxiliary carrier. And that's a cool idea. And I very much am interested in maybe running a game sometime where the player characters are fighter pilots stationed as part of a mercenary outfit that's, rents itself out for escort duties and that sort of thing. And so I think that could be very interesting. Or they get hired out by a planet that doesn't have a militia but feels they need a militia organization. So they rent a cops or rent a mercs, and they rent these mercenaries to act as a militia for that planet because they've not organized an official militia for the planet. So you get this cross section of the container. You get several of the decks. I mean, these are actually beautifully designed by Richard. He's got a very distinctive style. The cargo hold, throw a vehicle in there for the schnitz and giggles of it. And then here we have a hangar deck with one of the Corsairs on board. And I just love his work. I just think it's fabulous work. Aft quarters, work pods, engineering section. And then you get the S-200 assault shuttle. And again, great little design done by Richard. Classic for him. His S4 Corsair fighter that he's detailed out, tricked out for you. And it looks like a two-seater. That's cool. And then we get this, consider this one problematic. It's the Christiana class torpedo frigate. Now, it's by William Saenz, and I normally really like his work, but when he does do starship designs, they're borderline overpowered. And so that causes me not to use them sometimes. And you get this deck plans telling you everything that's on that deck, in a write-up fashion, but you don't actually get the deck plans. You just get some artwork that's been added. Now, my problem with this is in Star Frontiers Nighthawks, a frigate is hull size 5. And when you go to hull size 6, it's classed as a destroyer. And this very clearly is hull size 7. You can see it right there. So it could be a very big destroyer. So I'm quibbling about the name. I know it's a small thing, but I also I'm unsure about the amount of weaponry on board and the amount of defenses that he's put on board this one particular ship. I don't know if it's in line with everything else we see in Nighthawk. So that would be something, before I ever used it, I would definitely do a comparison, because I've seen other things and I'm a little bit worried. So I'm just checking out this note here. I missed this. Nighthawk ships are played using digitally remastered Star Frontiers Nighthawks game found at. So he's linking to the digitally remastered rules. They're no longer available on the web. We had to remove them during the Evil Hat affair. So he does set up some a scenario. That's thorough. I always appreciate that when somebody does that. So he suggests some scenarios here and then a boarding action. The next is, let me shrink this down, a 1-page on junk drones. It's done by Larry Moore using artwork from GJD. And I love the idea of these, but there's no stats added here. It's just kind of a fluff piece that these things exist. But I did a scenario where I wrote up a scenario once where the crown jewels of Clarion were being taken to Prangular, to Grand Quivera for an exposition where they're being taken to be exhibited at the Pan-Galactic Exposition. It's kind of like, Columbia Exposition we had in the real world. It's just kind of one of those things. But they're doing, they're not saying which of the assault scouts the crown jewels is being transported on. And so there's 2 assault scouts. One is effectively the escort and the other is the transport. And there was a plot by the Liberation Front faction of terrorists who hate the monarchy on Clarion to steal them. And so part of that is they actually hired some pirates to come in and hack these junk drones through the ship that controls them. And there's some modified junk drones that hold one individual in a inertia screen protected, because these things are in low orbit, and as the assault scouts are taking off, they swarm and attack the assault scouts and slam into them and start cutting into them. And once they cut into them, the occupant of the junk drone, who's not supposed to be in there, but these are modified, debarks and enters the assault scout. So you go straight from launching into orbit with an assault scout to a boarding action where pirates have used junk drones to get the, so that was I used these, and I think I must have worked up some stats on them somewhere, but I did use these in a game, and I thought it was a great addition to the Frontier. And I used it as a theft part of a great train robbery type of scenario. Then you get this artwork by Ryan Baker, and it's just thrown in here randomly. It has nothing to do with the junk drone article or the following article. It's pretty good artwork. It's called Standoff. Bunch of Sathar with casualties, and these two guys in the doorway are shooting back at them. Adventure Bots. This is using a role-playing a robot article, and it's written by C.J. Williams, and he's written a number of robot articles over the years. So this is just covers a lot of discussion on command triggers, who role plays the robot, quirks and glitches, biases and prejudices, simple reasoning, repurposed. You've got a quirk and a glitch table here. My big takeaway is this right here. I love a D100 table where you can roll something up. And I mean, it's not 100 different ideas on this table. They've weighted a few to be much more frequent than others. But I love this. I love this idea of a glitch and quirk table for robots. So Star Frontiersman 13. There's more material here on role-playing robots, and then a couple sample robots that he did up. And then we get into a system brief. Now, eventually, anybody who writes for the fan magazines will do a system brief. Larry Moore has done this system brief here, and this is not one that we know of or have heard of. The system's called Ora, O-R-A. You come down here, you get a little map showing where it sits between Matterly Star and Prengular. So there's not a ton of information here or history on this system, but it's base material. Like if you're running a scout ship campaign where the player characters are crew of a scout ship, this is support for you running that campaign. Just some basic system information, and about all the planets. So there's not much here. There doesn't seem to be an occupied system. There doesn't seem to be a story here, but that's something you can work with. And then Adversaries. I do believe this is from Shadow Shack, from Richard Rose Shadow Shack. And I believe he did a lot of these characters like this. I think it was in an app called Hero Machine. And so this is a very high-level adversary. She is a cyborg with 2 mechanical legs, 1 arm, and an eye. Very much Steve Austin's $6 Million Man, if you will. But her skills are quite high level because she is a level 2 pilot and a level 1 astrogator, and a level 1 engineer, and a level 3 energy gunnery. So she's got all these Nighthawk skills, and he has done the prerequisites that are required for all of these Nighthawk skills. So she's level 6 in a number of skills. So this is very much a one-hit wonder that can do pretty much anything, kick butt and take names. every time she shoots at her with at you with her laser weapon, she's going to hit you. She's level 6. That's a one-hit wonder with laser weapons. So announcements, and this was the big announcement. Let me shrink it so it's all on one page, where Bill Logan and Larry Moore announced the formation of DWD Studios, which is funny because the previous issue of the magazine, they went back and put the DWD Studios logo on previous issues of the magazines. But they don't announce the formation of studios till this magazine. So that's that announcement. It's old news at this point. And then they've somebody recycled an ad for TSR for Star Frontiers. It's an old Star Frontiers. It's been recycled in the magazine, and that happens right before the classifieds. The classifieds on this one just don't quite seem to be, it's the way they're laid out. And here we get another Gorko, you slime ball, even after the estate sale that we saw previously. So apparently Gorko did survive, and the estate sale must be off, I guess. So there's another Gorko and Torita ad in here. It's just some fun stuff in here. And like this pet suits, these are vacuum suits for your pet. The suggested price for the oxygen tanks. And I would just add this to your game as just another piece of equipment. It's part of a classified ad. I think it's fantastic. It should be added to the game, especially if you're using pets. You've got the Star Frontiers equivalent of a war dog, the D&D war dog, if you remember those from first edition. Yeah, definitely. It's over $2,000 for the spacesuit, so it's going to drain some money out of the pockets of the players. Definitely worth having. And so this is Tom for Star Frontiers Gamer. I want to thank you for watching. Thanks to my subscribers. You guys are great, and I will see you in the frontier.